Hello again, SGBers. I'm Companion Wolf. Welcome to another Smile Game Builder tutorial. This is a continuation tutorial of my previous tips and tricks video on chests. Here I'll cover things like lockpicking skills and dodging traps. There's one about defeating X number of monsters, and a few more other useful things you can do with chests. Some of these techniques are simple and straightforward, but as I mentioned in part 1, this is intended as a comprehensive guide, based mostly on the complete chest tutorial I did for RPG Maker. Some methods may seem complex at first glance, but they're really not. They're just more involved with more elements to consider. In addition, a lot of the methods in this tutorial are things I'd intended for the complete chest tutorial, but never got around to implementing them. So they're essentially exclusively for SGB. I'll most likely have to create a part 3 as well for the remaining methods. If that's the case, I'll also include a section on combining the methods and a complete test for each of them at the very end. So, after the intro, I'll dive straight in. Some chests might have multiple locks that require all keys to open. These kinds of chests could be used for a weapon vital in defeating a sub-boss, or could contain some kind of super powerful spell. Of course, nothing is that simple. The keys may be scattered far and wide and will need to be quested for in order to open the chest. So this is a straightforward expansion of the locked chest tutorial from part 1. All you need to do is make multiple branches in purple of each of the keys you will be using. In this case, I've chosen bronze, silver, and gold. This will check if each of the keys is held, and then use them in sequence to open the chest. So starting with the first key, we check if the bronze key is greater than 1 when held, and under it's no. The chest is locked, you need 3 keys to open it. But under it's yes, play the sound effect, and a message saying that the bronze key is used as the first key to open the lock. And then under that, when the silver key is held, under it's no, the chest is locked and you need 2 more keys to open it. And under yes, same thing, silver keys used. And then finally another one to check if the gold key is held. Under no, 1 more key to open, and then sound effect, 3rd key. So then after the gold key, the 3rd key has been opened, change the event graphics to open, add your item, whether it's money or whatever, add a message stating what you got, and then turn the local switch on. The chest will now open if you have all 3 keys, but it'll tell you how many keys you need to open the chest. In part 1, we had trapped chests, but rather than being hit by the trap each and every time that the chest is opened, you'll be given a chance to evade or disarm it. The dodge skill is based on the lead character's agility. So in this case, Scion will be the leader, and his agility here is 15 is the default value. So we first assign the variable dodge skill to his agility, and then we next divide the dodge skill by 4, which would make it 3. Actually it would be 3.75, but SGB ignores the decimals. And then multiply the dodge skill by 10, which would formulate the skill percentage. In this case it would be 30. And then for each of the trap branches we must now set a dodge difficulty, i.e. how difficult it'll be to dodge the trap based on the skill percentage. Each trap can have the same variables or different ones, as I've done here. So under its random number, which is equals to 1, if the dodge skill is 20 for the fire trap, then you avoided the fire trap. And then under its no, you would have all of the same fire traps. And it's the same with ice, which I've set to 20 also. But with poison, the dodge skill is 35. Of course, you can put each of these on a separate sheet if you prefer, using the random variable as a condition, and then adding the entire dodge skill variable box check to the event details. I prefer doing it on a single sheet and then cross-referencing as I need to with the display mode in the text form detail. Whichever method you feel comfortable with will work the same. You'll also note that this isn't a true percentage, it's the actual skill amount to represent the skill percentage. For instance, let's see, at it should be game data, not add assets. Okay, so for instance, at level 50, Scion's agility would be 580, so when we divide by 4, only 1, then multiplied by 10, that would be 1450, I believe, based on the particular formula that we used. So you can adjust the dodge skill requirements accordingly to higher values based on levels or what have you, or do a bit of math and calculate the skill values to whatever you want. Disarming traps can be done in exactly the same way as the evading traps method, but agility could be substituted with accuracy. You can then give the choice for whether or not to attempt on disarming the trap first. I'll revisit this in a later tutorial, probably in part 3. If you're not fond of the skill-based pseudo percentages I use for dodging and disarming traps, there is a more accurate method you can use to calculate the percentage chance. For the most part, SGB tends to round decimal fractions down, or it ignores them completely. Hence, in the advanced variables under do what is substitute divided remainder. Using this, you can set the variable to the percentage amount you want, and then substitute the divided remainder by 100. So, for example, we'd have to create another variable where random equals, say, if we wanted a 50% chance of evading or disarming the traps, you'd assign a fixed variable of 50, and then you'd use the substitute divided remainder to return 50. The way it works is that 50 is divided by 100 first, which results in 0.5. The trailing 0 disappears, is ignored. Then it substitutes the remainder, the decimal fraction part, as a whole number 2 decimal places in, because it's divided by 100. hence 50%, the trailing 0 is added. If you were then to set this to 5, the result would be 0.05. If you then assign, say, 110 to the variable, the substituted remainder will be 10, because that's what's left over after the division by 100. And you can use this method or the previous method. It works out the same way. The important thing to remember is to give the variable a percentage amount first, as a normal variable box, and then use the advanced variable box with the same variable to a fixed value of 100, and then use substitute divided remainder, and then the output will be the percentage amount that you want. I do have something in mind for a future tutorial, revisiting the advanced variables in particular, specifically using and manipulating numbers. This will most likely coincide with the next update, or close to it, or the next crafting tutorial, where it'll more specifically be used in conjunction with chance percentages for things like, I don't know, finding gems while mining, or you have a slight chance of crafting an extra portion of food in cooking, something like that. If you want chests to respawn on maps after you leave and come back, this is the simplest method to do it. Create a chest as normal, whether it's a blank event or a preset. On sheet 1, add a switch under the conditions, make sure that it's turned off, and then at the very end, above turn a local switch on, turn the switch chest 1 again. On your exit link events on the map, you would simply turn that switch off again, like I've done here. This will teleport elsewhere. Anyway, when you open the chests, first of all, the contents will remain empty until you leave the map through the teleporter, and then when you come back to it, it'll be closed and the contents can be obtained again. The process needs to be repeated for each chest you want to respawn, with each one having its own identifying switch. So chest 1, chest 2, chest 3, etc. You have 999 switches to use, but I can't see an occasion where you'd have 999 respawning chests in your games, so you can definitely use quite a few of these. Now for the next one, we'll go to a different map. This is where, if you want chests to appear on maps only after you've defeated a certain number of monsters, this is how you do it in SGB. So the first thing we'll create is an auto message announcement when all of the monsters have been defeated. In its conditions, the variable monsters is equals to 3. In its event details, is triggered once only. Give some kind of sound effect, fanfare sound effect, or whatever if you want. Give some kind of announcement where all of the monsters are defeated, and then the chest will appear. The next thing is the chest itself. After creating it, the only thing we need is this. Again, the variable box under conditions is monsters equals to 3, and then the chest won't appear until all the monsters have been defeated and its event contents are processed. So for the monsters, each one will need to be set up independently. You can of course copy and paste them across your map and then make any changes to the monster graphic and spawning monsters. If you have multiple monsters in a battle, that will still count as a single monster. So place the battle of your choice of monsters. I just chose Poison Bat for the first one. Note that you have a choice of allowing players to escape or performing other actions after defeat. Say when defeated, and then if you uncheck can't escape, it'll say when escaped. You can have one or the other. You can't have both. So choose whichever one will suit your purpose, and then under when victorious, just add 1 to the monster's variable, turn the local switch on. And then on sheet 2, just simply add the local switch condition, turn it to on, and change the graphic to a KO or whatever you want for the defeated monster. Make sure collide with player is unchecked as well. This method will keep the monsters on screen in the KO'd positions. If you want to make them disappear instead, on sheet 2 you'd simply change the graphics to none, and then on sheet 1, right before the local switch, you would do a change graphic event, and then you'd change it to the same monster with a KO, and then you add a wait, probably no more than about half a second, and the monster will fall down before eventually disappearing. Now we go back to the original chests tutorials map for the next one, which is a very, very simple method in case you want to know the total number of chests you've opened. In between the graphics and the local switch, you simply add 1 to the number of chests opened and add a display message either in the chest itself, or it could be on a separate event like a signpost or poster, or even from an NPC, something like you've opened variable 7 chests, where this number would be the variable number you've assigned to the variable for opening the number of chests. This is just a simple addition to the game for statistic nuts like me who want to keep track of various things like stats and actions and so on in games. Note that the variable switch will only work in display message and possibly display dialogue. I haven't tried that yet, but it won't in the display ticker yet. You can apply this variable to other things as well, such as the total number of battles fought, won or escaped from, as well as a few other areas like doors opened or NPCs talked to, or whatever else you want statistics for. I'll revisit this properly in the next advanced variables tutorial as well, which I will do sometime in the future. Now, in the world of Harry Potter, a portkey is basically a magically imbued object capable of transporting anyone who touches it to a designated location. And any object can become a portkey, but since this tutorial is about chests, then the chest itself is the portkey, and it's a very, very simple one and a very logical one. After the graphics, you can add display animation at the center of the player. I just chose light because it seemed cool, and then you change the destination. I just chose the house, and of course a message: you've been teleported somewhere else. It's as simple as that. Also from Harry Potter is Apparition. This is a magical form of teleportation through which a witch or a wizard can disapparate or disappear from one location and apparate or reappear elsewhere. So we can apply this principle to the chest, whereupon as soon as the player touches the chest, it disappears and then reappears somewhere else to an unknown location on the map. It would then be up to the player again to find it. And I believe this should be making contact with the player. You know, this would certainly add something to the game, wouldn't it? Like confusion, frustration, curiosity, and ultimately determination, just to find that damn chest, to find out what's in it. I mean, you know, there has to be something important in it if it teleports like that, right? But the frustrating part would be that you have to find it. Okay, so this is the same as the Portkey, except the display animation is set on the event itself, not on the player, and then you would change the event. You'd use the teleport event, this event, and then you'd select a destination. Note that you can only teleport on the same map. You can't teleport events to other maps. For the next one, it's blocked chests. Some chests can be surrounded by fire or encased in ice, and in order to open it, you'd have to figure out how to get it free. Obviously, fire is doused by water, and ice is melted by fire. You can use an appropriate item, as it's not possible with spells. So for the first one, blocked by fire, on sheet 1, collide with player is checked. No, that's the wrong one, that's the chest. It should be on the fire. Okay, here we go. Alright, as you can see, let's change the background so you can see it a bit more. There you go, that's the fire animation. Make sure collide with player is checked. When making contact with a player is the starting trigger. Then check held items. The ice spirit stone is 1 when held, and then under no, which is way here, message, you need something to douse the flames, and then under it's yes, display a message, you want to use the ice spirit stone to douse the flames, and then you give a choice for yes or no. Under yes, turn a local switch off, which will then trigger sheet 2, which is blank but contains local switches on, and then with a blank graphic as well. The ice, which as you can see is quite clear, I'm going to change it back to its default white. Anyway, the ice event is just the same as the fire event, but obviously you substitute the ice spirit stone with fire and fire again, and then with the text message you need to do something to melt the ice. Now the final one in this tutorial, because I have a feeling we're going to run out of time soon, is a magically sealed chest. Some chests can be like magically sealed, opened only by the correct spell or words of power. This can be split into parts, with each part of the spell requiring the player to find the wizards or guardians who have them to complete it. And they can also be obtained from chests and monster drops, of course. So first we need to create the 3 stooges, the 3 people who are going to give us the word of power to open the chest. So for the first one, display message, my word of power is roar. And then the second one is Liebe. And finally, the third one, her power word is Ka. So of course in the order in which you obtain them isn't the correct sequence you'd use to open the chest. That would be just too easy. So it would be up to the player to figure out the correct order. Furthermore, the NPCs wouldn't just give their words of power to you. They'd probably send you on a dangerous quest to defeat a powerful monster or retrieve some long-lost artifact before they tell you. That would make it more difficult, and it would add a little more dimension to the game. For our purposes, the correct order is Liber, Roar, Ka. This combined is actually Libero Arca, which is Latin for open box or unsealed box. I wanted to use something like Libero Sigillum, which means I release the seal or unseal the seal, something like that, which would be a little bit more appropriate, but that didn't break down into 3 parts very well, so I used Libero Arca instead. Anyway, for the sealed chest itself, we have multiple sheets. So for the first one, speak the unseal spell. That's the display message, and then you create another variable called unseal spell, which you would put a value of 1. When I first did this, I put all the choices on this particular sheet, just keeping on sheet 1, but I thought it would be better that way, but it ended up way too complicated to keep track of. So this is where the multiple sheets come into play, and that way it's easy to keep track. Incidentally, you don't have to predefine unseal spell on this point, because it's all variables are automatically set to 0. You can add a condition where if it is 0 here for continuity, but it's really not necessary. So for the second sheet, add the condition variable box unseal spell equals 1, then the trigger, as with all of these, from 2 to 6, all of these are triggered automatically. So we display a selection with 3 options. In this case, Roar, Ka and Liber. It's basically the words of power, but I've mixed them up a bit. Since the first correct word is Liber, what we do is simply go to the unseal spell and put 2 as the value. The other 2 would be incorrect, so both of these branches, the unseal spell variable is simply set to 5. Then on sheet 3, I've done the same thing as with sheet 3, mixed the words up a bit, but the condition is the unseal spell is equals to 2. And since this time the choice is Roar, the variable unseal spell would be equals 3, and then the other 2 would be equals to 5. The next sheet is for Ka. As before, unseal spell is equals to 3 under the conditions, and we have the 3 choices. Once again, mixed words. Ka is the correct one, so 4 is assigned to unseal spell, and then the other 2 are 5. So sheet 5, which is the correct order, variable box is unseal spell equals 4, and this is where the actual contents are delivered, including when you switch the local switch on. And then what this will do is it will jump to number 7, automatically open, and then it will say that the chest is empty. Now for the incorrect order, on number 6, the unseal spell is equals to 5, and then you display a message, incorrect, and you can display an animation at the center of the player, if you like, just as a means of punishing and hurting the character for getting it wrong. I just added it bolt 3 for good effect, for a more dramatic effect. And then I've decreased Scion's HP by an expensive 25 points, at least for lower levels. Do this for each party member you want affected as well. And then finally, you reset the unseal spell to 0, which would mean that if you got it incorrect, it'll go straight back to page 1, and then it'll go through the process again until you get it right. You can also add where the player must know the full spell, i.e. all 3 words of power before being able to use it. This can be done by adding 1 to a words of power variable after each of the NPCs have given their word of power. And then, wait a minute, I'm going to do this right now, because without this method it'll be easy to blind run your way through without actually knowing the words. And of course, it would be much better for you guys as well, me explaining. So for each one, we'll have a variable box, and then we'll add, what did I say? This one was words of power. That's the wrong one. Concentrate, Rob, concentrate. So here's where you would add the variable box, words of power, and then you add 1. We should be able to copy that, paste it here, and another one, paste it here. So then when you have the word of power, you've got basically 3. And then in the chest event, we can probably add it here on the first page, would be the first sheet would be best. So we display variable box check where if the words of power is greater than 3, then like that, copy and paste that under. If the words of power are greater than 3, i.e. you know all 3, then it'll go to sheet 2 automatically. If not, we just display a message saying you don't know, something like you don't know the full spell to open the chest. And that is it. So now when you have all 3 words of power, you'll be able to speak the spell to unseal the chest. And I believe we're out of time, so I'll end the video here and continue in part 3, including a playthrough. I was thinking about taking a break from the chest tutorial and focusing on some other subjects for a while. If you want me to continue with part 3 for next week's tutorial, let me know in the comments below and I will. As always, if you have suggestions for future tutorials, I'll add them to my list and see if you can how they can be done, and we'll feature them in a future tutorial. And incidentally, tomorrow I will be uploading a video to showcase Jackson Mayra's Japanese assets pack. I wanted to do that for this weekend, but unfortunately I couldn't, so tomorrow is the day. Look out for that. Subscribe if you want to be notified. You can also visit me on Twitter and Facebook for content, including updates for SGB and RPG Maker MV, as well as the other projects I'm working on. And visit the Smile Game Builder Athenium subsite for more information as well. All of the links will be in the description below. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Until the next time.